I think Sean would do really well at 145, and I'm not saying that because I would love to run it back because that's obvious. But I think his speed, his length would translate really well. He will be able to actually lift a little bit more to get stronger. The only thing is there are some dogs at 145 that if they grab a hold of him and they could already know how to grapple. I think more grapple heavy guys that he will have to deal with, like a Mosar, myself, a Chepe, Steve Garcia, when he takes you down, he gets on top position. Lerone Murphy's not much of a grappler. I know Bryce is going down. Obviously Ilya, but he's now up at 55. But I think there's a little bit more depth with guys that can grapple. Even Yusuf is not a bad grappler. The David Onama guy, when he gets to the top position. So it really just depends on what he wants to do. I do think he would have success. Would it be as much success as he does at 35? I don't know. It's hard to say because those guys are obviously smaller than him in terms of reach and everything. But his athletic ability and his fight IQ, I think, is pretty good where he would do relatively well at 145.
All right, everybody. Great to have the former UFC Bantamweight champion Aljamain Sterling here. A lot going on right now. A lot to discuss with this man. Aljo, good to see you as always, man. How are you?
Really good. Heading over to the city right now. Work day. Very
Excellent.
big work day.
Yes. And it was a very big work week last week for you and the team out in Newark, New Jersey. Ooh, you were in the corner for Merab Dvalishvili's big win against Sean O'Malley in their championship rematch. Merab makes it 2-0 against Sugar Sean O'Malley. What was that like, man, sitting in the corner and just watching Merab go to work like that in such an impressive performance?
What was it like? I mean, what's the word for like, we're just happy to know what we expected and what we were doing in the training room just came to fruition, you know? We, without a doubt, just believed he was just better. And I don't know, it's a fight. Obviously anything can happen. The first excuse was, you know, one hip and a torn labrum. I guess excuses only work one way, not for everybody. And now, 2 hips, and I'm just glad Sean gave Merab his flowers and his props and just admitted that the guy is just a beast. He's just a hard puzzle to figure out.
Yeah, because the whole storyline coming in was Sean's going to be better than the first fight because of the injury and because made all these life changes and was focused on Merab and all that. But what I kept trying to say, and what others were sort of mimicking John Anik as well when I was speaking to him, is that Merab was going to be better too. Like, we didn't get the best Sean in that first fight, but I don't think we got the best Merab either. So to me, like, even heading into this fight, it was almost like the first fight didn't happen because we didn't get the best of both guys. I feel like not a lot of people gave credence to, well, maybe Merab is actually going to get way better too.
Yeah, I mean, in between his O'Malley's time off from when he lost the belt, he didn't compete. He had to get surgery or something like that. I don't really know what his deal was. And Merab had to fight. He competed against Umar. And that's a very tough and talented guy that a lot of people were touting to be the next champ. And Merab was able to get the job done over him. And I think even that performance really elevated his game and his confidence and got to show the world that he is as good as that we all, and that how good he says he is as well. And yeah, that's just it, man. We got to see better versions. And honestly, I don't know if this version of O'Malley was the better version. I feel like he did better the first fight. Whether or not that's because Merab took it easier and didn't want to open up and take as many risks. But I felt like in the first fight, he had more opportunities where he just did a few things better. This one, it just looked like he had no idea what to do whatsoever. It was weird to watch because I imitated O'Malley, and I feel like I did O'Malley better than O'Malley. I'm like, dude, you're doing like half of what we thought you were gonna do, and you know, thankfully the fight can't win hard, and it made the fight easy. So that's I guess that's the best way to put it.
Yeah, Merab is just such a demon in there. He just doesn't stop. He just goes downhill. Like, once he finds any piece of moment or momentum, he just jumps on it and pounces. Like, it's crazy because even watching the first couple minutes of the fight, it was like, all right, Sean's movement is much better. He's looking okay. He definitely looks more improved than the first. I thought like early, and then he slipped a couple times. Okay, go ahead.
Can you point out what he did that looked better? Like specifically point out like, oh, he was able to feint better, or he took this cross pivot step better. Like, I don't see it, and I break down fights. I didn't see it. I don't know. Maybe he was a little more bouncy.
Yeah, that's what I was noticing.
Okay, because I'm like, I don't know what he did different. I really don't. But that's just my personal opinion, and I'm gonna get hate for that because he beat me, and apparently I'm still salty about it, even though I'm not even in the same weight class. Yeah, but that's what I was. That's what I'm just curious because when people say he's supposed to be better, I'm like, I just can't pinpoint anything like strategically that he did that was better. And from a fight analysis standpoint, that I could go, okay, this is where he made some improvements, but this guy is just that much better than him. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think he could. Like I said, this is early in the fight. I'm like, all right, he's moving, he's bouncing around a little bit better. The movement around the cage is better. And then, you know, he slipped a couple times and then Merab just pounced on him. And you could almost see the moment, like right after round 2, heading into round 3, when Merab started to get momentum at the end of the round, where he was just like, this is a demon that I'm actually fighting. Like you could actually see the moment where Sean, it's not that he just gave up. It's just that he just kind of saw the inevitable, which is kind of crazy to actually see while watching a broadcast and watching a fight. But were you surprised that one of the judges gave Sean round 2, or were you not surprised by that?
Yeah, I don't really. Eric Colon must have had something to do with Vegas betting odds or something, because I don't even know what. Or he needs to get his eyes checked. Like, and again, I'm trying to be as unbiased as I can. Obviously, Merab's my guy, but if it's a close round, it's a close round. There are such things, and based on what you're looking at, you can give a round for another guy. But I don't see what was close from a striking standpoint, control standpoint, like what was actually close for that referee, that judge to give that round to O'Malley. I don't know. I don't really see it. Maybe I need to watch it a couple more times, but I don't think I'm going to agree with him anytime soon.
How many times have you watched it? Have you gone back and watched it since Saturday?
Just once, but yeah, I think I got the first row experience, which was amazing. And of course, I had the Nelk Boys in the corner. One of the guys was talking shit to me, and then I was just like, we were going back and forth in between rounds, and I was chirping at him, and he was getting so pissed. And he was like, fuck you. And then I was like, oh, he's really mad. I'm going to keep this going. I started fanning the flame. I was like, 2-0, 2-0. And then in between going into the next round, he kind of like lightened up a little bit. I was like, okay. I was like, all right. He changed his tune a little bit, starts to realize he's taking this way too serious. The only people who should be taking it serious are the guys in the cage. But yeah, people get so uptight, man. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's this weird community that we are engulfed in. And what I found interesting was Sean talked about the fight on his YouTube channel, and he talked about just how freakishly strong Merab was for this fight. Like he was strong in the first fight, but it was just like a different dude in the second fight. And then just kind of realized before the submission was like fully locked in, he was just like, snap, he's so strong, I can't get out of this. And just that moment of acceptance, almost of just knowing that this fight and this opportunity and a lot of other things are slipping away from him. It was pretty raw to hear him talk about that. Have you ever felt that? I guess that moment of humbleness, or do you at least know where Sean is coming from when it comes to, yeah, I'm kind of feeling things slip away and there's really nothing I could do about it?
110%. And it was to my first pro loss to Brian Caraway, where I wasn't sure how they were going to score the first round. I felt like I got a 10-8, but I was like, if I didn't get the 10-8, then I'm losing this fight. I'm probably going to lose the second and third round because I know they were wrestling so heavy, even with no damage. Yeah, it's just one of those things. It's just, it sucks, but, man, it happens. And that's just part of the game. And I think when you go through those growing pains of adversity and seeing what you're made of, can you rebuild yourself and come back and bounce back from that? And that's what people are going to want to see from Sean. And if there's any advice I can give O'Malley, again, I don't want people to think that I really don't like this guy. I have no issue with the guy. I will send him a bottle of Funk Harbor to his house. Like it's just the way that he kind of went about the parade after he beat me, knowing the circumstances. That's the only thing I didn't like. But other than that, he's a fighter. I support fighters. And my piece of advice for him was like, it's gonna be dark and cloudy and stormy for a while, but eventually the clouds separate and you get to the sunshine again, you know? And I lost 2 fights in a row, both by split decision. And that's coming off of my first pro loss right into my second pro loss, back to back. My job is on. Just got a new contract. I had a whole issue with the UFC and fighter pay and things like this. And it wasn't like I was intentionally trying to ruffle their feathers, but I knew the position I was in wasn't good, right? So for him, coming off of 2 losses to a guy who's, to my opinion, I think even for me, I think he's the bantamweight GOAT. I have the most offenses yet. Surely going to get that. And even with his resume and strength of schedule now, both of ours are very comparable, but at the same time, it's just very, very different. And I don't think anybody can deny that. So for him to lose to a guy like that, can he bounce back and get back into the win column? Can he eventually get back to a title shot opportunity? And this time he's going to have to fight and really see who he really is and go through the gauntlet of fighting other top contenders. I mean, they could still try to help him, give him cherry-picked fights again, but that's not going to do him any favors when he gets back to the title. He needs to see what he can do and against the best competition. And that's the only way you're going to know if you truly deserve an opportunity to fight for the belt again, right? So that's it, man. I think for him, he's got to hang his head for a little bit. Of course, it's going to suck. People are going to be making fun of him and whatnot. You know, his diehard fans won't, but the ones who switch up, they're going to parade on him and make fun of him and whatnot. Of course, I had a little fun with it, just like the whole lighting thing and the Jane opinion. But that's just all tongue in cheek, right? It's no malicious will to him or whatever. But I think he's a very talented guy. He's good, and I said this from the very beginning when he got signed. I was like, this guy's good. He might not have the wrestling because we haven't seen it yet, but I was like, this guy is good. And Merab is just one of those guys, freakishly strong. And when he gets into shape, fight peak shape, he's a marauder, man. And I know this from training with him year in and year out. On my way up, he was one of my main, and still one of my main training partners because I know the push he can give me. And when you're in there with him, you're just like, damn, this is really hard. If I don't take him down first, this is going to be a long 15 minutes because he's just not going to stop coming and bringing the pressure. Pause. No Diddy.
I was I was flipping through social and I saw a clip of you saying that there's the little skit that you and Merab did, and he did the yawn thing, and you said that he had a hard time even pretending how to yawn because maybe he just doesn't even know how because he doesn't get tired. So of all the time you've spent training with this man, have you ever seen him like tired, like gasping for air, like huffing and puffing like the normal person would do? Have you ever seen it?
Brother, never. Gasping for air, never. I've seen him tired where he just looked a little off for the day and you could tell he's a little beat up and run down. Because if you let him spar 5 days a week, he will. And you could tell when he's going through these gauntlet training sessions and the grappling and then getting up the next day and having to do a sparring session and he goes to train again at night. I'm like, brother, sometimes it's going to affect your performance. It's okay to take 1 or 2 days off. I'm a big believer in that. And I come back and my next training sessions are probably some of my best ever. So with that said, it was funny to just watch him try to mimic the act of yawning and not know how to do it. It was just like, I was like, brother, this is actually hysterical to watch this right now. But yeah, it was definitely a funny moment for sure.
Yeah, the Bantamweight GOAT conversation has been like a big one heading in and coming out of this. And obviously you're a part of it and Dominic Cruz is a part of it. And everyone has their own sort of definition for what it means. Is it title defenses? Is it rings? Is it how many belts you have on the mantle? Is it overall resume? And then some people are even saying like, is it even fair to compare the era Dominic Cruz fought in to the era that you and Merab are currently fighting in? So I guess, how do you even define these conversations now? Because a lot of people think they're silly and ridiculous, but it does create like barbershop talk. How do you define like a division's GOAT or the sport's GOAT?
I mean, for me, it was at a point just solely title defenses. But I also think it's the strength of schedule. Like for instance, some of these guys, I don't want to say names because then it just sounds like I'm picking on people and I got beef with them. I really don't. But some guys have favorable matchups where they can get these highlight reels and they look like studs, they look like killers. And then they get into a position where they fight for the belt and it's not the same. Or they're unable to manage to defend the belt once. So it really just depends. I look at the strength of schedule, I look at title defenses, and I try to do a combination of everything to kind of give you that whole picture of what you're actually comparing and trying to get as close to apples to apples. That's why, for me, like even the conversation between Khabib and Islam at 155, I'm like, who is really the better of the two? And I feel like Khabib's is really good as well, right? Because he actually fought all 55ers. But then you got Islam, who fought the greatest of all time in the featherweight division, in terms of what he's done and accomplished on his run, and arguably won the first fight. So it's like there's just so much tit for tat. And then obviously he came in short notice and got knocked out, and then that's a title defense, right? So it really just depends. You have to look at the whole picture and be like, well, this compared to this win and that win and this win. Overall, what's the overall picture? And I think he's got it. I mean, I think the Dominic Cruz thing, yeah, I think there's some validity to the era of where he was fighting to what we're doing now. But I would say Dom was the GOAT of that generation and that era. But now you got the new school. The guys are way more talented, way more skilled, way more advanced. It just depends on how you look at it. So for me, I have a different take than what somebody else might have. And I think it's a fun conversation for just, like you said, the barbershop talking up to people to decide on that.
Yeah, people get so bent out of shape with these conversations. Like, it's just your
Dude,
opinion.
it's funny to watch.
It really is. Before the fight, Chael Sonnen said that if Sean O'Malley had lost to Merab, that he could become sort of the Rich Franklin of the bantamweight division, because as long, Rich Franklin and Anderson Silva lost him twice, and it's just like, okay, you're not getting back to the belt as long as this guy is champion. And as long as Merab's champion, Sean may not get another shot. So maybe you bump up to featherweight and you try something there. So as a guy who has fought Sean O'Malley at bantamweight, and then you move to featherweight and you've got to see Merab beat him twice, would that be a smart move for Sean? Like, is he a guy that could do okay at featherweight, or do you think he should stay at 135 if you were guiding him?
I think Sean would do really well at 145, and I'm not saying that because I would love to run it back because that's obvious, but I think his speed, his length would translate really well. He will be able to actually lift a little bit more to get stronger. The only thing is there are some dogs at 145 that if they grab a hold of him and they could already know how to grapple. I think more grapple heavy guys that he will have to deal with, like a Mosar, myself, a Chepe, Steve Garcia, when he takes you down, he gets on top position. Lerone Murphy's not much of a grappler. I know Bryce is going down. Obviously Ilya, but he's now up at 55. But I think there's a little bit more depth with guys that can grapple. Even Yusuf is not a bad grappler. The David Onama guy, when he gets to the top position. So it really just depends on what he wants to do. I do think he would have success. Would it be as much success as he does at 35? I don't know. It's hard to say because those guys are obviously smaller than him in terms of reach and everything. But his athletic ability and his fight IQ, I think, is pretty good where he would do relatively well at 145. And it just depends on the weight cut, right? I don't know how much that weight cut really affected him, but I know for me being super lean, it killed me. Like even today, I woke up at 160, which is insane. I'm like ridiculously light. I'm lighter now than when I was fighting at 135.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I barely break 170 these days.
Wow.
So
what do you think that, why do you think that is? Just a little lifestyle change, or is just, I don't know, maybe you just don't have to, because you're not ballooning back up after cutting all the way back down. What do you think that is?
yeah, I think it has to do with that. My body's no longer holding on to everything like it's dying. And I don't eat nowhere near as much. I used to just gorge myself because my body was just craving food all the time. Now my appetite's nowhere near as high as it used to be. And I'm also not lifting like I was before. as much as you say. I still lift, but not as often. So that's probably got something to do with it, with the hunger and appetite and things like that. But yeah.
I know you tweeted out you'd love to run it back with Sean, but I think what people didn't see in the tweet, because people only like to read the headlines, but they don't like to read everything around it.
They only clipped the one part, which makes me look
It's-
like an asshole.
because what you said was, and I thought it made sense, because even after the fight, we were talking about this. I was like, if Sean goes up to 145, like it makes so much sense to just run this fight back with you. Like there's a story there. It makes a ton of sense. But you even said, like, let the man chill, let the man like get his wits about him, and then we can talk. Like, I'm not calling him out right now. I'm not being that guy. But if he does go to 45, I'd love to welcome him there, which I thought was a pretty fair tweet. And then you got some backlash and we're like responding to quote tweets. Like, I don't understand why you got the response you got, man. Like, I thought it was a very fair, respectful tweet from you, just from the outside looking in. Were you surprised at the kind of backlash you got from that?
Yeah, I mean, but it is what it is. People are people, and they're probably all just diehard O'Malley fans. Which, I mean, I get it if you want to defend your guy that you love, but I don't think I said anything wrong or distasteful whatsoever. And again, I'm done with that chapter of O'Malley. If if he's comfortable with riding off to the sunset with the win, him and I both know like they stacked the deck against me. Obviously, I took the fight and rolled the dice, and it didn't work out for me. So I would love the opportunity to just do it again at favorable terms for both of us. This way, we're both even going into the fight, and then we can really see who's better. Because if people think Merab's grappling and pace is good, I mean, I think the Mosar is a pretty damn good indicator of where that fight should have looked like, and then even the fight with Cater. I mean, Cater's a little bit more stationary of an opponent, but I think there's those two performances. My performances before that, I get my hands on you. It's a different, and even that, like, that was such a bad headspace that I was in that fight with O'Malley. I tried to trick myself into thinking I could rah myself into wanting to be there, and then when I got in there, I was just like, I got to poker face this and pretend. And even in the corner, I was just kind of like, I just want to get this over with, man. I really just want to go home. And sure enough, I threw a ugly, very just uncalculated strike, and Sean cracked me with a beautiful right hand, and that's the game, man. And again, even for him, like, he shouldn't come back unless he's mentally ready to want to fight again. Because you go in there not wanting to compete, it's going to be a bad night.
Where are you at right now in terms of fighting? Because obviously you said a lot there to unpack going into that O'Malley fight. And I was in Boston for most of that week covering that card. I wasn't at the fight on Saturday, but I was there the rest of the week. And you were trying to rah there. That's for sure. You were getting into it. The press conference, you were trying to get people riled up. And I think you did a great job really selling that fight. But in terms of where you're at right now, in terms of fighting, are you ready to get back in there at this point? Because you got a million hats on right now. Are you waiting for like certain names, or does it matter at this point? Are you getting that hunger right now to get back in there?
Man, I've been ready since I literally texted my guys asking for a fight since January, and I knew I needed a little bit of time off to just heal up. It's like every fight, my shoulder's pretty bad, the one I had the surgery on. So every fight, it kind of gets tweaked a little bit, where I need to give it a little bit of a break and do a little rehab to get it back strong again. And I sent the message since January. I was ready to fight. Then March comes around. For the March card, I asked about that from January. And I was pretty much told, like, I could take my foot off the gas a little bit. And then I got offered a short notice fight against Pitbull towards the beginning of February, where I was already partying and putting on my other hat as a businessman for my brand, my spirit, Funk Harbor. And a lot of people might not know, but I actually funded this whole thing. So it's my own hard-earned money. So, of course, I'm going to give it love and attention. So I took time off to make sure I was focused on that. And I wasn't training the way I should have been training. And I kind of kicked myself in the ass a little bit about that, because that was a great opportunity for me. Somebody's calling me. I try to deny it. Okay. Yeah, that was a great opportunity for me to fight a former champion in Pitbull. And I missed the opportunity. So I asked about April, didn't get April. I asked about the June card for Jersey, didn't get that. I got a bachelor party coming up now. I'm getting married at the end of the year. There's a lot going on, so I'm ready to go. I was in fight camp with Merab pretty much the whole time, so I'm in shape. I could do 3-5s easy. I could probably even do 5-5s, no problem. But I'm ready. I've just been ready for these guys to give me a name. Obviously, I would like to fight a guy on the level of a Mozart in the sense of like the ranking, like Brian Ortega, Arnold Allen, names that make sense. I would even go fight Lerone Murphy because somehow he's now ranked ahead of me. And if that's a name that they want me to fight, I mean, I'm open to it.
Yeah, 145 is in a real interesting spot right now. Volk's the champ again. Now there's talk about maybe Yair getting a title shot, but now he's saying he's injured. I think him and Diego Lopez makes all the sense in the world. And there's rumors about Movsar maybe fighting Aaron Pico, although that's not confirmed. And it's just crazy right now. And, you know, the Movsar situation, because I know you and I talked about the Diego Lopez getting the title fight over him, and you weren't trying to cause any rifts. You were just stating your opinion. And I remember talking to John Anik about this a little while back, maybe like a month, 6 weeks ago. And he said like Volkanovski has literally rolled out the red carpet for Movsar to come in and fight for the belt. And normally when a champion does that, that's usually the direction the UFC goes. And maybe they might go that way, but it doesn't seem like they are. It's just been kind of weird watching this whole Movsar is boring train, and we're just going to overlook him and pass him over for even Yair, who Volk kind of perfect games not that long ago.
Yeah, it's tough. It's you never know what the company wants to do, right? I don't agree that Mozart is that boring. Maybe you could say his earlier fights, possibly, but even those fights, when I was fighting him, getting ready for him, I watched those fights. I'm like, these fights aren't as bad as people make them out to be. He kind of just coasts though, so I can understand that. But the fight with Arnold Allen, his fight with me, those are two damn pretty good fights back to back. I mean, he dropped him with the jab. Like, I don't know. I don't think he's what people are making him out to be. And it kind of goes back to that Dana White stigma. Like, if he says something, it just kind of sticks. So until Dana says something else, the fans are going to always have this perception of Mozart being a boring fighter. I'm like, yeah, he's really not boring. People will call him Merab boring. I'm like, he's not boring. It's just your guys just can't do shit against him. You can say the one fight against Jose Aldo was boring, but usually fights are boring if it goes to a decision and it's very one-sided. It's almost like, well, you should just get him out of there. I get that, but sometimes the guy doesn't want to just quit, right? So it's a fight. I think Mozart should be next, though. He should be next and keep this division moving. It's like, what are you gonna do? Have him kill off another contender? It doesn't make any sense. So
yeah,
kind of get him in there, see if he wins. Volkanovski's a pretty damn good grappler himself. I think people might be underestimating how competitive that fight will be. And I think Volk possibly beats him.
I love that fight.
I think he possibly beats him. I think it will actually be a fun fight. Maybe it's not the name value that they want. They can't really make highlight real knockouts of Mozart or whatever. But I think it's going to be a great fight regardless.
I believe to this day that if Arnold Allen versus Movsar Evloev happened on any other card, Dana White would have never said that. Yeah. I think that there was just some tough scenes at UFC 297, and there were a lot of just kind of long fights where not a ton of stuff happened. I think Dana confused him with somebody else that night. And Dana is a man who sticks his feet in the sand. He's got that Boston bald stubbornness like I have, that if you say something, even if you're wrong, you're never going back on it. You can't be like, sorry, I made a mistake. You're just going to triple down on it. And I think that's what happened that night.
Yeah, I could see that. Like, again, for me, it's just, I don't think Mozart is that boring.
I don't either.
I think he's actually a fun fighter to watch and to study from, to see some of the stuff that he's doing. He's got this unorthodox, quirky style, and it works.
I want to talk about the rum, obviously, because you're taking off, man. I had no idea that you fully funded this entire venture, which is pretty wild. That's crazy. But it does seem like big things are happening. I saw you post a video that it's now available in a liquor store in your hometown, your old hometown, I believe. Maybe correct me on that. But are you starting to enjoy this more? You obviously probably feel the pressure of being an entrepreneur and being in that entrepreneurial role and wearing that hat, but Are you getting more accustomed to it? Are you starting to go downhill a little bit more with the speed and the quickness of all of this?
Yeah, we're starting to get some really good traction. People are getting to try it more. And that's the thing is like you need the marketing dollars to put behind it to really get out there, get boots on the ground, to get these activations going. With the activations, like if you go to a liquor store and there's a party in there representing the brand and they're giving out free samples for people to try and to see if they like it. Like for us, we stand on that. It's additive free, no preservatives, no food coloring. It's a really good product, 100% Jamaican rum, blended with different Jamaican distilleries, like select ones that we picked. And it's a really unique product. So if you don't drink rum, you're obviously not going to know if this is something you want to buy. You're going to go with the big marketed brands like the Don Julios, the Casamigos, who are also in lawsuits right now because it's not actually tequila, which they put the message in 100% tequila from agave, but it's not. So when you do these activations, all these other companies, they get people to try their stuff and get to compare it. This way you can buy and drink something that's actually good and quality where you're spending your money versus just like keeping up with the Joneses. You see someone in the club with a 1942 bottle, you just think automatically like, oh, this is what I got to buy and spend all this crazy money on something that's actually not even, it's actually worse for you than if you actually drink something that's a little bit better. And obviously it's alcohol. Alcohol is not going to be anything, but if I'm going to drink something, I'm not going to drink a bunch of bullshit. It's like if I'm eating food, I'm going to try to get the best food of that kind that I could get, right? So I think we're growing and we're getting there. It's going to be little by little. We do have it at the liquor store in my hometown of Uniondale, at G&S Liquors. We do have it at Hempstead Liquors, which is the town right around the corner from us. And we got some good placements in Vegas. We're at Lee's Liquor Store in Vegas, which is huge. And we got some good places like Fountain Blue, Atomic Golf, flights at Planet Hollywood, Barry's and Circa Hotel. So we're growing little by little, but again, it's just me and my one guy that's really pushing everything. And once we just constantly just keep the messaging going out there, I think people are going to realize, because some people don't even know this, it's my brand. You know, they see it, but they don't know it's my brand. So when we get people to come in and try, and they're like, oh, this is from UFC Fighter X, Y, Z. And like, oh, okay, I'll give that a shot. And that helps, you know.
Good for you, man. That's amazing. What's the signature cocktail? I don't know if you can hear me. You froze up a little bit. What's the is there a signature cocktail for the rum yet?
I like the Harbor Punch. You could go with a classic Harbor and Coke. You can also do an espresso martini. For me, that's one of the best drinks that you can make with it, or even an old fashioned with the rum. So there's some different ones you could go to, and you can just have fun with it. Like anything fruity goes with it, and it's gonna be a nice drink. I drink it straight on the rocks. That's preferably how I like to drink these days, anyway. Nice cigar, you know.
I can see that. You get the Hawaiian shirt on. Now. Yeah, look at you. Get the hat on, the shades. Oh yeah, you're good
more sophisticated the older I get. So,
last thing I would ask you before I let you go is, I've been asking all the fighters that I've been talking to about this specific fighter. Dustin Poirier is about a month away from his final fight. At least that's what it's being presented as. The last dance. Who the hell knows? Maybe a big opportunity comes, but for now, we will treat it as such. This will be the final fight of Dustin Poirier's career, and he's had some great fights. Interim champion. He's fought in 145. He's fought at 155. He's beat Conor McGregor twice. He's had some huge moments. I'm curious your reaction to Dustin Poirier turning the page, fighting Max Holloway in his final fight, and is there a certain Dustin Poirier fight moment, maybe a conversation you had with him that 20 years from now, if someone said, Aljamain, I'm not a big MMA fan, but I've heard about this Dustin Poirier guy, what's the first thing that comes to your mind?
First thing that comes to my mind, maybe his fight with Dan Hooker. That was just a rock'em sock'em fight. And then I forget which round it was. He was just like, he looks over at Hooker and he goes, "You having fun yet, Dan?" And I was like, fuck. This is just psychotic. You know what I mean? He's a special type of cat. And I don't know for sure if I believe that this is going to be his last fight. I think it really just depends on how it goes. I know he's got a newborn kid now, so maybe that will change some things, or they're expecting or something like that. So with that said, I think depending on how the performance goes, I mean, if he goes out there and he dominates Max Holloway, I think that conversation, that door is still open, especially now that the belt is vacated at 155.
It'd be interesting to see, no doubt about it. But I appreciate the time, man. You gave me a little extra. I didn't realize how long we were talking for, but always great catching up with you. Your guys fighting for LFA this week, Pumi. Why isn't he in the UFC, Aljo? What the hell is going on here?
I don't know, man. I think after this performance, he should be getting that. He should be on the short list if he's not already.
Yeah, he's so good, man. So hopefully that changes. But appreciate the time, man. Congrats to Merab and you and the rest of the team, man. Congrats on the rum and all the success you're having with that. And as always, great catching up with you, my man.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate the time.